Welcome to the Creative Push. Today I want to welcome John Partipillo. He is best known for his fine art photography as a photojournalist, and probably even better known as the guy that can get the shot that nobody else can get. Welcome, John.
Thanks. I don't know about that last statement, but I get them most of the time.
Tell us a little bit about
Okay,
you.
well, I started photography at a very young age. My mother was a painter. She gave me a little Brownie Hawkeye camera when I was 9 years old, and I was going to a Catholic school. I started documenting the nuns spanking my classmates. They didn't like that too much, so they impounded my camera, took my camera away from me. They gave me the camera back, but they kept the film, which really hacked me off because I really would like to have that. But I got this big adrenaline rush off of it, and I just really got interested in it. And my mother helped me a lot too, because she was a painter, so she was introducing me to books, and I was looking at the great masters. I was looking at like lighting and composition at a very early age. And I think when you're younger, you really pick that stuff up. My mother was a really big influence in my work, and she was a really nice person. She talked to everybody. She had a way of putting people at ease just by talking to them. I think I learned some of that from her too. I think she knew that I wasn't going to be able to handle any 8 to 5, so she started pushing me, gently nudging me into the arts. I was learning stuff from her too. She got me these photo books from Life magazine, these really cool things. And she was giving me like art books. Like I was looking at the masters and what they were painting. I was learning all this when I was a kid.
What is your primary source of journalism?
I think I'm really good with people, and that has a lot to do with journalism because you got to get right in there with them, and they have to trust you. I think one of my biggest assets is access. And most of the time I can get access into anything I want to. I've always been able to do that. Just talking to people, asking questions. One of the big things is the reason people don't get access because they don't ask. Sometimes it's that simple. I was in Franklin, all the press was outside, and I just went up to the cop and I said, "Hey, is there any way you can let me in there and let me photograph while they're talking to them? I mean, I'll just shoot through the window. I don't have any recording equipment or anything like that. I just want to get stills." Okay. And everybody went nuts. Like, how the hell did you get in there? It's like, I asked. A lot of times it's just asking the right people, just asking. The other part of it is never ask permission, just beg forgiveness. That works. I think a lot of it has to do with trust and knowing people and just trying to get to know them. People always tell me that they trust me. When I'm talking to somebody, if you listen to us talk, it sounds like I knew this person for 20 years. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. After the bombing, I wanted to get in on 2nd Avenue. So I called the police and I said, "Can I get in there?" And they said, "Well, the Tennessean, they're actually going to be in there and they're going to be sharing photos." I said, "Well, that's great, except I don't want their photos. I want mine. I'm trying to take a different perspective on this." I made a good case. And the next day they let me come in and shoot by myself with a police escort. Just saying, well, it's fine. That's nice, but that's not what I'm going for. I'm going for a different story than the Tennessean's going to be able to provide for me. There's no reason why if a police officer can just come with me and I know exactly what I want to do. I told them, which was the truth. I said, not only am I doing a story on this, but I'm also doing a story on artists down there that had paintings on the walls, and those things got obliterated. I'm trying to find some pictures of that as well.
Can you explain your technique while you're actually shooting?
Actually, my technique is I don't try to think about stuff too much. I call it Zen photography. So what I do is I just observe. I just put myself in a position. I have confidence that I'm going to get something really good, and I just got to wait for it. I just relax and I don't think about it. I don't worry about it, and things pop up and I see them. That's how it works. And I never take my eyes off the subject. I'm constantly zoomed in there, really concentrating on what I'm doing, not talking and just listening and letting them do it. Now, after a while, they settle down and stuff starts happening. Things happen very quickly. You may get 1 or 2 shots and it's gone. It's why you really have to concentrate. You really have to watch your subject, keep your eye on it. They'll do something that will reveal something. You can think yourself out of a photograph. I'm serious. You really can't.
And you did recently switch. Are you using the Sony or are you using Fuji?
Well, I'm using both. I've got Sony with my Zeiss lenses. I got the Sony A7R III, which is a full frame camera, which I love for a lot of things I use. But I also like my Fuji. I got this little tiny Fuji X100V that I just love because it's so compact and everything. And I've also got some other Fuji stuff. I got an X Pro 3. If I'm just on the street, like I'm going to be today, I've got an assignment at 3:30. I'm probably going to just use the Fuji because it's quiet, it's tiny, it's little. I don't have to mess with it too much. It's got all old school knobs and I like that.
What is creativity to you?
It's my life. Every day I am driven to create something. I get up in the morning and I'm like, okay, what can I shoot today? If I don't have an assignment, I'm looking for something to shoot. A lot of people say, how do you find something to shoot? A lot of times I open up a dictionary, point in a word and just go do it. I just finished a project which just got published and it was on the Freedom Riders. I photographed them at their homes and I also wanted to photograph them in the Civil Rights Room at the At the library, I have lots of ideas. I've always got story ideas that pop in my head.
What brings you inspiration?
First of all, I'm only doing stuff I'm interested in doing. A lot of times too, if I'm given a story that's kind of difficult and hard to shoot, that really drives me. I push myself to try to find different ways to do it. The other thing I do is I don't look at other people's work. I don't want to know what they're doing. I want to just concentrate, to have a fresh look. But I'm pretty much inspired every day just by the process. I love to make pictures.
Do you ever get stuck?
Yeah, all artists get stuck. I do something else other than photography. I have crayons and I color. In my coloring book and I read. A lot of times if you're stuck, just go back to your basics. Am I making this too complicated? Usually when I'm stuck, it means you're going on another plateau. So you just have to give yourself the space to do that. I know this sounds weird, but it's true. And also, we're artists and what we do is art. So instead of concentrating on the work, just concentrating on being an artist. I read this book called Wired to Create, and the first thing it says is artists have messy minds. And it's true. That's part of the creative process. You may start to do something that you're working on. And when you shoot that, you go like, that's not really what I want. And other things come to mind, and you see other things when you're there. And we start on something and then you're not thinking, it just sort of happens. And I think it's a lot to it has to do too is like how you grew up, what your values are, and what affects you as a person. You always hear about being objective, and I think any of us are objective. I think we're subjective because of the way we grew up and stuff like that. So as a journalist, instead of trying to be objective, I just try to be fair because my subjectivity is going to come through in my work. It just is. Listen to both sides if I'm doing a story, not taking anyone's side, trying not to have an opinion about that. Just listen to what they're doing and do it.
Do you have any strange, weird, or odd collection?
Well, yes, I do. I've got a skull collection. Part of my skull collection, I have Tibetan beads, skull beads they're called, and they're made from bones of monks from Tibet. So I like that kind of stuff. Anything that's got a skull on it, I collect. Skeletons or skulls or anything. That's kind of a weird thing. Now people are starting to give me skulls, which is great. I get them for Christmas. I get them for birthday.
Is there anything new that you would like to learn?
Oh, wow. I'm learning every day. I had a teacher tell me one time, one of my mentors told me that photography takes 2 lifetimes. You're constantly learning. So I'm always trying to learn new lighting techniques. I'm always looking at different ways to do things, approach things. It's not what I'm looking at, it's how I feel about it. And my feelings are making that shot work. Compelling moments that are going on, all that comes into play. And it all comes into play like that. I've been working with Tennessee Lookout. I actually came up with a story idea for the Freedom Riders, and they ran with it.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Any new projects?
Dawn Majors, Bill Stieber, June Powell, and myself. Vanderbilt is going to let us do a show probably sometime in August or September of this year at Scarrett. We're all going to show our sort of approaches to the pandemic.
Where can people find your work?
Well, they can go to johnpartipillo.com, which is my website. You can also go to my Facebook page. I'm also on Instagram. Go to Tennessee Lookout. A lot of my work is on there as well. The Freedom Rider stuff is there, so you can look at that. I started in newspapers. I think I was working for something called the Baxter Bulletin. And I was in high school and I was working for them. I worked for a lot of magazines and newspapers, over the years, the Arkansas Gazette. For the Tennessean, I covered the war in Iraq. I went twice in 2003 and 2004. I documented the 101st Airborne, who I was attached to. I was embedded with them. I followed them all the way to Iraq. The second time I went, we did a coming home thing. So we photographed everything they did. And then on their way back home, I documented that as well. It was quite an experience to do that. It was crazy.
Thanks so much for doing the interview. Okay. It was great to talk to you. Thanks, John.